And welcome back to the Today with Tally podcast, folks. We have a great show in store for you today. We sit down with the former senior advisor to the DHS Secretary Mayorkas. And folks, let me tell you, we're only about 30 days away from Election Day, and this is going to be a massive podcast here. Now, who are we having on the show today? Well, plain and simple, Berney Flowers. I call him Berney. That's what his friends call him. But let me tell you a little bit about Berney. Now, he is a former candidate for U.S. Congress out of Maryland. He was assigned to the U.S. Air Force's Air Staff as the Pentagon was attacked on September 11, 2001. He retired from the U.S. Air Force after nearly 21 years of active duty, having deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and visiting 22 countries and 43 states in the performance of his duties. After his Air Force retirement, Berney worked as a project manager in the banking industry. In 2009, he returned to the DoD as a civil servant, where he was part of U.S. Cybercom's initial staff. He later served as NORAD and U.S. Northcom's senior technical advisor at Fort Meade. Before retiring from the DoD, he participated in refugee resettlement efforts for Afghans, Haitians, and undocumented migrants in defense of the U.S. southwest border. In 2021, Maryland's governor appointed him to the District 9 Judicial Nominating Commission, Howard County, Maryland. In 2022, Berney joined the External Advisory Board at his alma mater, the University of North Carolina. Also in 2022, Berney authored the book Black Values Matter. In 2024, he was named National Director of Political Affairs and Maryland President for Veterans for American First. Lastly, Berney is an elected member of the Howard County, Maryland Republican Central Committee, and he hosts the Loyal Opposition podcast, available weekly on most social media outlets. Now, in addition to this, Berney is a proud husband of over 36 years, a father of 2 successful young adult children, a father-in-law, and a grandfather. He volunteers locally and is a mentor to many. He enjoys traveling, gardening, and entertaining friends. And with that, we are honored to be joined by Berney Flowers. How are you, sir?
Brian, how you doing, brother?
Hey, another day, another dollar. Hey, another day closer to the election, huh?
Yeah, man, we got some rough times coming here, man. I tell you the truth. I never thought that we would put ourselves in a situation where we've allowed 20 million people to come into this country. And I don't know if you saw the latest information, but there's 10,000 documented criminals wandering around here that could do anything to anybody. But I didn't want to just talk politics, but that's what's on my mind. And I'm a little bit unnerved by all that, and so that's kind of where my head's at right now, brother.
Well, you were the senior advisor to DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and we know for the last 3.5+ years there has been a absolute breakdown on the southern border. I don't know how this can happen unless it's being done on purpose. None of this stuff makes sense to me. Why wouldn't the United States of America want to protect the sovereignty of its own nation, but yet we're very quick to send our troops into other countries? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny. While I was working for DOD and DHS all those years, I had to keep my mouth closed. Just like when you were in the Marine Corps, you carry out the mission and then you discuss it later. But that's kind of where I was. I was helping to do all kinds of things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I did them because I felt patriotic about it. And now I'm questioning a lot of those things. But yeah, I don't understand it. I don't want to come off as some conspiracy theorist, but I can tell you specifically that there are people in this country that are getting benefits from the government that should not be going to people who haven't paid into the system, who haven't paid taxes. I mean, for example, look at you as a veteran. I mean, you get a stipend. Okay, great. So do I. I'm 80% disabled. But there are people in Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora, Colorado, and all over this country that are getting nice big fat checks from the United States government, and they haven't paid into the system. And eventually those people are going to get the right to vote. Eventually those people are going to get into Social Security, and we just can't afford that anymore. And I don't understand the thinking, and it seems to be, and stop me whenever you want to, but it seems to be coming from the Democrat side of our government. And they're not, I mean, we're $36 trillion in the hole. We're $36 trillion in debt. I can't even imagine what $36 trillion looks like, but that's an insane amount of money. Last I checked, it's about $200,000 per every American taxpayer. And we didn't get a choice in this. Not cool at all. So, yeah, I'm a little bit bent out of shape.
As we all are, Berney. I still believe that the majority of this country feels like you, feels like me, and feels like many, like I said, many Americans. The majority, I believe, is still in this battle, good versus evil. I mean, that's plain and simple. That's how I see it right now.
That's how I see it.
And, how did we get here? Well, I know it's been going on for generations, little bits at a time. 2020 came, and it seems like one false swoop, and all of a sudden we were like, whoa, what just hit us? It's time for us to get in the fight. But unfortunately, we've been playing defense, and we barely just started even playing that. Yeah, and we all know in football, look, defense wins championships. I get that. But you need to be on offense. You need to score some points if you want to win this game. And I know right now we're way behind the 8 ball, but we do have an important election coming up. And, man, we have got to right this ship, or else I see our country dissolving. Look, you're a veteran. We have had 20 million unvetted, basically is what I'm going to call them, because they have so many criminals in here that they've allowed. Illegal aliens come into this country. Now, these folks have no allegiance to this country. They have allegiance to their very own country that they're leaving.
Yeah.
But yet they're coming here, waving their home flag. They have no allegiance, while 22 to 40 American veterans are taking their lives every single day. So you want to know what that's doing to our country, Berney? It is dropping the patriotism in this country every single day by 22 to 40 that are being replaced by people who have no allegiance to this country.
Absolutely unsat. Absolutely unsat. And, we're not doing a good job of taking care of our veterans in the first place. I mean, I was talking to a state representative over in Ohio just recently, and you know this to be true. I know this to be true, but he verified it as an elected officer. And he said that there are veterans there getting food stamps to the tune of about $13 a month. Okay. While we have these migrants coming in from various countries that are getting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And what is our government thinking? What is our Congress thinking? Why are they allowing that to be done? Why is Joe Biden and Kamala Harris allowing this to be happening? And, their regime has been in place for the last roughly 4 years. And to tell you the truth, I got a chance to see all that over the last 30 years. And I was in the government as late as 2 years ago. So I got a chance to see it up close. And we were just spending money like crazy, and money that we shouldn't have been spending. And that money should be spent on veterans, the way I see it. That money should be spent on people who are defending this country. They're taking away money from Customs and Border Patrol and the people that are trying to protect us. And they're giving money not only to these non-citizens, but they just hired 87,000 new IRS agents. And those IRS agents, for the first time, are armed. So what do IRS agents do? They take money from American citizens. They don't take money from foreigners. They take money from you. I don't understand what the process is, but I know it's not good. Absolutely.
They tax us to death. And they give all the folks who haven't contributed to this country all of the rewards. And I often say this on the podcast, Berney, the more you contribute in this country honorably, the more you are punished.
I would
And the
agree.
least you contribute in this country, the more you are rewarded.
Agree.
And,
Totally agree.
you know, that right there is something that most Americans are going to wake up every single day at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, grab that coffee, say goodbye to the family, be gone for 12 to 14 hours a day, spend 10 in the office, 4 in traffic, and say, why am I doing this?
Yeah,
So,
it makes you think.
yeah. So all it does is it completely, puts Americans' morale way down in the toilet, while all these foreigners are coming in by 20 million over the last 3.5 years that are like, I love America.
Yeah, because everything is free.
Yeah. But we love America too. And that's why we're here today, to try to save her. Because right now we are on life support. And I credit you, Berney. Look, it takes courage to do what you have done. Literally, you have given a lifetime of service to this country. A lifetime.
Brother,
And then to be a senior advisor at the highest levels of the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, I wasn't the only one. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, first of all, I appreciate what you're saying, but my sacrifice is no greater than yours. I mean, I don't want to get all into your business, but I do know some personal things about you, and you've made some pretty serious sacrifices. And you are doing this out of your own pocket. You're over here in Congress making things happen. And I'm not going to put my service over yours. And we shouldn't compare, because every veteran, I say, anybody who raises their right hand, you're literally writing a blank check to Uncle Sam. And a lot of our people didn't come back. That's the thing. And even if you're, I don't know, a missileer who never left the country, and you're up in some place up in Cavalier Air Station, up in Nebraska, up in Montana or wherever, you're basically saying, I will do whatever it takes to defend this country. And I think what the current administration has done, is totally disrespectful to that honorable service that so many of us have given. So, yeah, man. So anyway, bottom line is that I was over at DHS. I was in some other places in 3-letter agencies doing a lot of different things. I wasn't the only one, but what blew me away was my last 2 years was during COVID. And what I saw was our country restricting the rights of native-born Americans during COVID, while they were bringing people into the United States that weren't properly vetted.
Right.
All these criminals that you're talking about, do you really think that we had the opportunity to bring 20 million people in and check them all for COVID, check them all for diphtheria, check them all for all these crazy diseases that they have that have been eradicated in this country, but are rampant in a lot of other countries? We didn't check all those people. It was impossible. We didn't have the manpower to do it. And, but we said that we did. And, there's just so many negative things that could come from that. And I just don't understand what the Biden administration was thinking by allowing this all to happen. They were negligent in their duties. And now we've got a lot of confusion. We've got a lot of people who don't trust the government. And it's all, in my opinion, due to Biden and Kamala Harris.
It is a complete loss of confidence.
There you have it. In
this country, and fit reps, right?
There you go.
Loss of confidence, that, and when that happens, you get fired, or you get replaced, or you get sent on down the river. And that's where we are right now. We have lost confidence in the very government that has been sworn to protect us, that has been sworn to obey by the Constitution of the United States of America, because they hold that to us.
Yeah.
They hold us to account.
Yep.
But it doesn't seem as if they hold themselves to account. Do as I say, not as I do. And that is not leadership.
No, it's not.
But
Not at all.
what I was saying is that you're a man of courage, because for you to go in there and to be advising folks, especially like Mayorkas, that is probably one of the most said names over the last 3.5 years because of the treasonous job that this man has done to our nation with no pushback.
Yeah.
We're able to do all of this with no pushback. And now you're retired and you're coming out and you're saying, hey, Houston, we got a problem. And
we do.
you don't have to do this. You're a father, you're a grandfather. You could say, you know what, dude, I have done my time. I spent a lifetime in the military, then I got out and I was, in the DOD. Man, I am tired of this. I just want to live the rest of my life in peace. The same way as Trump. He doesn't need to be doing this.
He doesn't.
But you are. You're putting yourself out there. You're making yourself vulnerable for the people of this great nation. And they need folks like Berney Flowers out there to look up to say he's right. And he inspires me. And that's what it is. Courage is contagious. So for that, sir, I reckon, I definitely send a mad gratitude your way, because what you're doing is not an easy walk.
Well, Brian, I've been called everything but a child of God, and I know that you have. And, it's funny, people that I've known 30 years that I've gone to war with have dropped off the Berney Flowers fan club recently. When you let people know, if you're working in DOD, DHS, whatever, working for the federal government, first of all, you're supposed to be neutral. Mm-hmm. And I just got to a point where I couldn't be neutral anymore. And, I'm unvaccinated. And that was one of the big things. And people aren't talking about that because, as I remember, I think there was 18,000 soldiers that ended up leaving the government, leaving the service because they wouldn't take the vax. And I shouldn't say vax, the jab, whatever you call it. But there were a gang of civilians like myself who were in the very same situation. I was being, very much pressured to take this, gene therapy. I don't call it a vaccine. It's a gene therapy. And the truth is that was the final straw to me, because our government is forcing us to take an unvetted gene therapy, and that is just not cool. And on top of that, we were just being forced to do things that we didn't necessarily believe in. And then I look at your family. I've seen pictures of beautiful family, and I know that you would do anything for them. And I feel the same way about my crew. I would do anything for them. That's what America is all about. So there's a lot of people who feel that way. On the other hand, there's a lot of guys who are not retired, and ladies who are in a situation where they need that paycheck and they can't fight the good fight. So they're relying on people like us to get out there and tell the truth. And that's what we got to do. This life is short, but it's a lot longer if you don't tell the truth. And when I go to bed at night, I feel good because I know that I've done what I thought was right. That's what this whole thing is about. It was, to tell you the truth, I was losing sleep when I was over working for the man, as you say, because I was doing things that I wasn't comfortable with. And every day there was a new challenge. And in the meantime, after doing all the things that I was being asked to do that I didn't agree with, at the end of the day, I'm getting a call from XYZ, my boss, telling me, so have you taken the shot yet? And then and a lot of people, that story hasn't been told. And so a lot of people that I know walked away. Matter of fact, one story I want to tell you, and if you look up my podcast, you'll see it. There was a Coast Guard chief that I worked with. She was 16 years in the game. Her husband as well, Coast Guard chief. And they told her that she had to take the jab. She was pregnant. And so the bravest thing of all the stuff that I've been through, I saw her walk away from her retirement because she wouldn't endanger her unborn child. And I told her personally that was brave, and I had her on the podcast. If anybody wants to check it out, you can look it up, Loyal Opposition Podcast. But I don't want to say her name, but that woman was as brave as any special forces soldier I've ever been around. and she was protecting her child. She just delivered the child, and I just think that is awesome.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. I've had so many great, honorable men and women on this podcast that walked away from retirement.
Yeah,
from pilots that have been in for well over 20 years.
Yeah,
And they're like, no, it's not worth it.
it's
So
not worth it.
Gone on in life, and it's like I don't recognize this country. It has changed in ways that I would have never seen coming or ever imagined, especially what they have done to the folks that have raised that right hand and have signed that blank check for up to and including their life.
There you go.
And it is, we're going through some hard times right now and some rough times, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. I don't think we've peaked out yet.
Not even close.
But and this is a very dangerous game, that is being played right now. And I pray every single day for the troops, for our country, and for the people of the United States of America, because I even though at times I feel like I've given up, and that give up doesn't last more than probably a day, and then I'm back in the fight.
Oh yeah.
Because it's exhausting. You're getting gaslit. Like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? Am I seeing this right? Am I seeing this right? And then you're like, no, this is real. Like when you first started the show, you said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm like, whoa, this has nothing to do with conspiracy theorist stuff. If you look back at everything that we've gone through really since 2020, and you look at that list, all of those conspiracies are now
fact.
They've all happened.
Yes, they have. And you look at a guy like me, and like I said, I've lost a lot of friends. But, for every friend that I've lost, I've gained a new one, like you.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that, are like-minded. And one of my old bosses back at the Pentagon once told me, he said, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. And that has stuck with me. And there's a lot of people that blows me away with some of the people that I've worked with that were just as brave as you ever wanted to see. But when they see the country literally falling apart, they don't see it. It's like, dude, don't you get an understanding? I mean, I live close to Baltimore. I live about 20 minutes outside. And I was down in Baltimore just recently because the Trump bus came through, to tell you the truth. And I wanted to be there, to see it. And they stopped, and Trump wasn't on the bus, but there were some of his representatives there. We took some pictures. It was great. But the issue of the day is driving through Baltimore, it was like a war zone. I've literally seen better roads in the green zone in Iraq. And why I say that is we've spent $250 billion in the Ukraine. I've been to the Ukraine. They are not worth us fighting over. But yet we are pumping money into that place like crazy, and for a lost cause, because a lot of people don't seem to understand that those people in the Donbass region over in eastern Ukraine, they're Russian speakers. They want to be part of Russia. So we are actually interfering in their free will by, trying to keep Ukraine together. But the issue of the day is maybe it's too much of a cost. And people seem to fail to understand that Russia's a nuclear power. What happens when Ukraine falls, and then what are we going to do? Launch on them? I can tell you, it wouldn't last long. Everybody, the entire earth would suffer. And we got to stop that. We cannot. This is not a game that we can play because nobody wins. So I take this stuff dead seriously. I've spent my whole life, just like you, trying to defend the ship of state in the United States, and us getting on all these foreign wars and getting all these kids hurt, like yourself, coming back in body bags, some of them absolutely unnecessary. And oh, by the way, the Ukraine, they have neo-Nazis over there. People don't talk about the Azov battalion. People should look that up and find out that we're actually funding neo-Nazis. Not cool. These people hate us, but yet we're giving them large sums of money. I'm not saying we should be trying to support Russia. I'm saying that before Henry Kissinger died, one of the things that he said on his deathbed is that we should have some sort of negotiated solution. That's what our State Department is supposed to be doing instead of sending people into a hot zone. Not cool at all. And we're being gaslit there. And there's just so many things. But that $250 billion would have gone a long way to fixing the potholes in Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And we're looking more third world every single day. I'm in Houston, and, you drive, 5 miles down the road, and there's trash all over the place. There's infectious disease, there's rodents, and the trash is so compacted. And we're talking on the streets, behind businesses, in front of businesses, just piled up, couches, chair. I mean, literally, and it's so compacted, it's starting to biodegrade.
Yeah, absolutely unsafe.
Where it sits. And this is every city in the United States of America right now. And how do we keep allowing this to happen is the question. And they say, well, it's not bad enough yet. Well, I don't know what bad enough looks like, but man, I'm afraid to see what bad enough looks like.
We got to stop it. And the average American, the average tax-paying citizen has to realize that they've had enough. A doctor friend of mine who was supporting me during my campaign, a wonderful guy, I won't mention his name, but he's over in Montgomery County, Maryland. And he said, we were having the very same discussion that you're having with me. And he said, Berney, people aren't going to change until they're hungry. And that's the real deal. And I don't want to see Americans hungry. I just simply don't. We can do better. And, all the things that you're fighting for when you go over to Congress, that I applaud everything you're doing. But the issue today, you're talking about trash. Well, think about this. A lot of let's say you go to a fast food restaurant and you're getting a styrofoam, container that eventually is going to be in a landfill somewhere in Houston. Well, that thing has got a shelf life of about 300 years. Long after we're dead, that styrofoam container is still going to be there. We could make a lot of things out of biodegradable materials and encourage our farmers to make things, better products that will degrade, in a natural way. But instead, we make everything out of oil products, and we can do better. We can do a whole lot better. And let's just talk about this. You got me on a roll here. I'm sorry, but there's so many things that are wrong. I mean, this Green New Deal is nothing but a scam. These people are over here telling you to buy electric cars. Well, folks don't understand that. Okay, lithium is needed for the production of electric cars, and that lithium comes from war zones. We in the United States produce about 1% of the lithium that is required in the entire world, which means that if we run out of lithium, we run out of cars. We run out of cars, we're off in Congo or some war-torn place in Afghanistan, sending our soldiers back into a war zone for lithium. And we got to do better. And on the other hand, if you look it up, you'll find that the hydrogen powered car, the hydrogen engine is a reality. But the people that are in charge don't want there to be a hydrogen engine. They don't want water powered cars, because even though it would clean up the environment, they make little money off of that. So the technology is there. Elon Musk, as last I checked, they've already developed the engine, but the people in charge don't want that to happen. They'd rather stay on fossil fuels. And more importantly, we've got all the fossil fuels we need here in the United States. Why are we importing fossil fuels from other countries? That's another story for another time. I just don't want to send my kid off to war, and I know you don't want to either.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially none of this stuff should be happening at all. And the problem is once you start connecting dots, you start to see, man, this doesn't
add up.
This isn't passing the smell test.
It's not.
And I'm not I'm not the brightest bulb out there, but it doesn't take a bright bulb to even figure it out. And that's the scary part. Yeah. Unchecked. This has gone unchecked.
It is.
Because America, you want to know why it's gone unchecked, Berney? Because Americans are afraid of their government.
It shouldn't be that way.
So when the government is afraid of the people, okay,
the way it's supposed to be,
freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. That is freedom. That is our house.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. House is the people's house. Okay. But right now, they're like, you get out of my neighborhood. This is
Yeah.
my house. This is Congress's house. This is for the beautiful people. This is for the people that are making decisions against your best interest. And that right there is tyranny because
Oh,
they don't care about the people at all.
I totally
And
agree with you.
I keep this right here on my desk and I refer to it all the time, folks. If you haven't seen it, it's a great book. It's called The Constitution.
Shocking.
Guys, it's not hard. This is what you're elected to uphold and defend.
Yeah.
And when you're going against it, when you're going against the principles of when this was written, how it was written, and how we obey it and abide by it, it is dereliction of duty,
Yeah.
and it is treason. Now, I want to get to when you worked, with Mayorkas. Now, you saw the influx of these illegal aliens coming across the border. When you were sitting in, and if you can, maybe touch on some of this to kind of give the regular, everyday average Joe out there some information. When you're sitting in these war rooms and you're advising the secretary, when we're being literally invaded, what are those talks about? And what were some of the, what was some of the advice that you would drop to the secretary?
Well, I wasn't the only one. I mean, here it is. We're there. He's got an entire staff. He's got a chief of staff. He's got a deputy. There was, some senior people, I mean, flag officers there. So it wasn't just me. And I was
Sure.
representing not only Northcom, but DOD.
Mhm.
So the idea was there was a group of us that were, pretty much graybeards. And we're sitting there trying to but the thing is that the advice wasn't being taken. It was more of how to execute the Biden administration's policies. It wasn't like, hey, boss, this is the wrong thing to do. It was more along the lines of Biden and Kamala decided, we're going to bring all these people in here. For example, when we did the Afghan retrograde, we brought 85,000 people in here. And from Afghanistan, I don't know if you know about that, that was $1,400 a day. So if you do the math, that's like 119 million $119 million, if I'm not mistaken. So, you're talking about $1,400 a day for upkeep. You're talking about language, you're talking about customs, you're talking about care and feeding and housing and clothing and all that sort of stuff, and putting in these people in different places. So we were so busy trying to do that. And then I started realizing, I was like, okay, we're telling people that these people have been vetted. They've been given vaccines for polio. They've been given vaccines for this and vaccines for that. And there's no possible way that could have been done. But the issue of the day is we had to keep our mouths closed because we were so busy bringing these people over. And, they shut down the, war in Afghanistan, which I was a part of. And, yeah, Trump had said that he was going to do that, but we were going to do it in such an honorable way. I expected a peace dividend. Instead of a peace dividend, we went immediately into the Ukraine. And so the question of the day is why? All this money being spent, all this money going everywhere outside of this country, and I just started seeing this can't be a good thing. But as far as the day-to-day advice, we were literally advising him on tactical things on how to get these people here. And I just started noticing that Customs and Border Patrol, ICE, those agencies that watch our border were getting the short end of the stick as far as financials were concerned. And but again, I wasn't in a position to say anything about it. We were there to execute. We are the executive branch. We do what we're being told. But the takeaway was every day after doing all those things, I was being told, okay, you will take this shot. And I'm saying, no, I will not. And I put in a what they call a religious waiver because I really believe that taking in a DNA changing substance was anti-religious. It was against God's orders, and so I just felt very uncomfortable with that. And eventually I just decided I'd had enough. So I walked away. I was lucky enough that I could retire again, but I wasn't able to have a full career in DOD. And bottom line is, a lot of people were put in that situation. They had to make a hard choice. And then what's worse, the slap in the face is after I retired, after so many soldiers got put out of the military, 6 months later, the Biden administration said, "Oh, we put too many people out." They were giving people bonuses to come back. Absolutely insane, absolutely unthoughtful process, absolutely no planning whatsoever. So, in the meantime, here we are with all these Haitians and Afghans, and I don't have anything against anybody, but the issue of the day is we have a legal process for people to come in the United States, and most of the people that were coming across the border were not coming for economic, they were coming for jobs. They weren't coming for political prosecution. And so that's kind of where we are now. And the trick is, how are we going to get these people out of here? Because they are living their lives. They're having babies. They're doing whatever. And every time a child is born here, they are an American citizen. And if these people can't participate in our culture, a lot of them can't speak our language. A lot of them don't understand how things go here. For example, what's going on in Springfield, Ohio. A lot of those people are not culturally a good fit for this country. And so we got to deal with that. And let's just say, from my perspective, the people in charge, the 1%, are the ones that are allowing this to happen. They're driving the boat. They're bringing these people in so they can do the manual labor that it costs more for Americans to do. And it all starts with globalism, going back to Obama and Clinton. They, intentionally offshored a lot of the work that was being done here. And now here it is, 20 years later, we're suffering from the decisions that were made by Obama and Clinton. And I just think that's terrible.
Yeah, and that goes back to 2008. And the sad thing is, 16 out of the last 20 years have been ran by the Democrat Party. And I'm not even going to call them Democrats, because these folks have gone far left, radical, progressive. I mean,
it's frustrating. I know.
They literally have litter boxes in schools.
Yeah.
I was reading a story out of Colorado that went to actually a judge. Like, literally, we're tying up our court system to fight over and I think they call them furries.
Yeah, right? Furries.
And folks, this is real.
Yeah.
Where they've got litter boxes and the thing meows.
Mm-hmm.
And this is okay. Here you are working within the DHS, trying to advise, a secretary, you and a lot of other folks, and you were told to execute the plan.
Execute the plan.
Now, isn't executing the plan that they had harder than actually just obeying by the laws that are on the books?
They created their own laws. How's it go? He who has the gold creates the laws. And it's a shame. After all the years that I'd spent in the military and all the years that I'd spent as a DOD, civil servant, clearly, just like you have that Constitution on your desk, I've got one too. And I also kept a Bible on my desk. And a lot of people gave me a hard time about that. But the issue of the day, there you go. And so the bottom line is, we knew right from wrong. Is just a lot of people didn't execute. Oh, another factor to take into account. Remember, we were going through COVID. So a lot of people were working from home. So imagine we're going through the worst medical crisis this country has ever seen. The entire government, I'd say 80% of the government, were allowed to, quote unquote, work from home. And in the meantime, we're trying to keep people out from crossing the border. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So there were just decisions that just did not pass muster. And a lot of people were, quote unquote, working from home, but you can't be but so efficient working from home. It's a wonderful concept, but in reality, those cops and firemen and Border Patrol agents and soldiers, they don't get to work from home. So we're wandering around DHS headquarters, and it was literally cavernous because um, and empty because there were only what they call the emergency essential people that were working there, and I was one of those emergency essential people. And so here we are coming to work every day, but when you try to get something done, we were slowed down specifically. So one of the things we had to do with this Afghan retrograde was we had to bring in a lot of military people, not only active duty, but also guard and reserve. And we were bringing them in from all over the place to do the job that regular DHS people were doing. And a lot of people don't know about that. So again, I'm saying what's on my mind because I'm an American, and we're in a tough spot right now. And all that could have been avoided. And the truth is that if we allow ourselves to let Kamala, whatever her name is, Harris, get back in, all we're going to do is assign ourselves another 4 years of the same Build Back Better policies. And obviously they have not worked. So it's terrible as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we can't afford 20 out of 24 years. I mean, that would be the end. I mean, it's close now.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you just can't make up where we are. And the whole world sees it. We're extremely vulnerable. We're probably as vulnerable as we've ever been.
And if I may, think about California. Have you been out there lately?
Yeah, I was just out there about a month ago.
And so here it is. You go to San Francisco. It is a mess. I'm not going to say what Mr. Trump says, but it's a mess. It's like a third world country. And, and you go there and there's homelessness. Well, the people in charge want to turn the entire United States into California. And if you notice, a lot of big companies are moving out of there, like Elon Musk and some of these other people. I think Warner Brothers is moving their studios out of there. Pretty soon, there won't be an opportunity for regular folks to live. And if they do that to California, they want to do that to the rest of the United States and turn us into California. And I'm against that. I am totally against that. And it's almost as bad here in Maryland, but that's another story for another time.
Yeah, they want California, sea, the shining sea. They want the chaos and the control. And when you say these folks are making their own rules and their own laws, well, that's called communism.
Yep. There you go.
And because we are a country of checks and balances, but there has been no checks. There has been no balances. Now, I've got a question for you about the illegal immigration, because something I've covered on this podcast for the last 2 years, because it is going to be the fall of America if we don't get a handle of it. Yeah. Now, it's been brought to my attention or rumored. I don't know if it's true or false, but it's something I hear about all the time. Governments dumping their prisons like Venezuela or whatever and sending some of the worst people in their countries to the United States of America. Is there truth to that, Berney?
Yes, there is truth to that. Mr. Trump's been talking about that for years. And I believe it to be true. These people in Aurora, Colorado that are taking over whole city blocks, a lot of them came out of a specific prison in Venezuela. And if you were a Venezuelan president and you got a chance to get rid of people who were, ne'er-do-wells, all you had to do is send them to another country. Why wouldn't you? And that's exactly what they're doing. Most of these people hate the United States, but they hate the United States because of policies that we have implemented upon other countries. So are we totally to blame? Well, we certainly got a part to play in that. Our government is not doing what's best for the people. And we're agitating a lot of situations. We're creating wars. But the bottom line, to answer your question, yes, a lot of those people that are coming over here unvetted, we don't know their background. A lot of them are smart enough to just not even bring in passports. They don't want to be identified. But yes, a lot of those people are criminals. They're acting with criminal behavior right now in different places. And we're going to have to deal with that. And I'm sure that if Miss Harris is elected, that will be the last priority for her, because she never did anything with the border anyway. She was totally unconcerned. All she wants to do is dance around and make photo opportunities. But the bottom line is that we've got to get a handle on this. We deserve better. Our children and our families deserve to be protected. And I don't know what's going on, but regular Americans are going to have to step up. As I remember telling you about that doctor friend of mine that told me people are going to have to get hungry before we make a change. Well, I'm hungry for change.
You worked at Northcom.
I did.
NORAD. I
I
mean,
did.
this is the protection. You worked at DHS to protect the sovereignty of America. The
Yep.
government's job is to protect the citizens of this country.
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose of Northcom, Berney?
Well, here's the thing.
No.
Whole time.
What's the purpose of a Northcom? If we're going to open up our border to 20 million unchecked, unvetted, illegal aliens from 160 different countries, why do we have Northcom if we're allowing this to happen?
You know, I was sitting in my office 2 years ago thinking the same thing. You know, Northcom and DHS have very similar missions and they support each other. Defense of the United States, Homeland Security, pretty much the same thing. But the difference between Northcom is we're supposed to be defending against military threats. And we have this rule called basically posse comitatus. The idea is that federal troops are not supposed to be in the street defending. But, you know, there's history behind this, because if you remember, General Pershing, went into Mexico because of Mexican bandits back in 1910, 1909, something to that effect. But the idea is that we're supposed to be protecting the American people. And if the president deems it so, the military can be used to defend our borders. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And while I was at DHS, I was Northcom's quote DOD rep. I was a senior rep. I was being paid by Northcom, but I was kind of in a dual role where I was DOD's senior person there. And my job was to make sure that DHS got everything they needed from DOD. But the issue of the day is, that's Northcom's job. Keep away the bad guys. Make the bad man stop. And we're not making the bad man stop. And we're doing a poor job of that. DHS is doing a poor job of that. They seem to be operating like the Keystone Cops. And it's almost like they intend for America to fail. And, I'm too much of a patriot to let that happen. So I walked away. Couldn't stand it anymore.
And again, that's honorable. And that is courage. I mean, honor, courage, commitment, right? These are the hallmarks of Americans. These are the principles of who we are as Americans. And a lot of these have become empty words delivered and reiterated by empty suits. That is dishonorable.
Yes.
And that is working against the good of the United States of America. And we cannot allow this to stand. And it takes folks like you and me and so many and the millions of others in this country right now that are saying enough is enough. Now, I have had several Border Patrol guys on this show. A lot of them remain completely anonymous. Whistleblowers, if you will. I've had boots on the ground, eyes, ears for over 2 years. I even have had Silent Rider on this show, and this is who we classify this person as. Silent Rider has taken several trips to Denver, to Chicago, to New York City, out of Texas, buses full of illegal aliens. Now, I understand Abbott's position on getting the illegal aliens out of Texas because we can no longer sustain them here. Texas is folding right now like a lawn chair, like all these other Southwest states are. Every state now has become a border state. But I look back at this and I say, is it the right move? Now, Abbott, I believe, as the governor of Texas, as the president of this state, I would not have sent all of these illegal aliens all over the country, because all that does is strategically place all of these illegals now all over the country. They're ending up in red states. Yeah, a lot of them are going to blue states, but Ohio is a red state, and they're going to Louisiana, they're going to North Carolina, they're going into Tennessee, and they're forming their own neighborhoods and their own colonies, their own caliphates, whatever you want to call it. And I just want to know from you, did you guys know what was going on and when it was happening, when Abbott was sending all of these buses to all of these states? And what were your thoughts on this process?
It was like something that you didn't talk about. It was whispers. I left there in 2002. January 18th was my last day working for DOD, DHS. And it was something that was whispered in the hallways. We knew what was going on at a very, very senior level, but we didn't talk about it. We were getting briefs and all this sort of stuff. But the issue of the day is the decisions were being made above my pay grade. And at the, even above the Mayorkas pay grade, although I know that he was there to execute things. But as far as Governor Abbott, from my perspective, and I lived in San Antonio for 7 years. So the border states, Texas, Arizona, Florida, California, they were having to bear the brunt of the sanctuary city policies. And the people in New York and other places were the ones that were, making these decisions. So from Abbott's perspective, he was like, okay, well, let's share the wealth a little bit. Right. As you remember, the governor of Florida, he sent a bunch of people up to Martha's Vineyard. And I thought that was a pretty good ploy on his part. But it was pretty much the only tool that they have. Now, it sucks, but it brought attention of the average American to what was actually happening down on the border states, because the truth is a lot of people up here in Maryland and this part of the world didn't know what was happening in Texas, didn't know what was happening in Florida, and didn't care. It wasn't affecting them. Now, not so much here, but you go into the inner city, you go into Baltimore, you go into New York, you go into Atlanta, and a lot of these people are there and the numbers are growing and people don't understand. Let's just say these folks are allowed to stay here. Well, a lot of them are not culturally acclimated to the United States, so they're not going to be able to speak the language. They're going to grow up in households where these kids don't, understand English. They don't understand how we do things. The story about, Haitians, grabbing animals out at the park and using them for food, I believe that to be true. I've heard reports from people that I'm close to in Ohio and different places, and it's different. A lot of people, you've been over in the third world, a lot of things that we take for granted here in the United States are unheard of in the United and outside. I mean, you go to, for example, Saudi Arabia, and you see women driving here. Try that in Saudi Arabia. Doesn't work so well. Or in a Muslim country. They throw homosexuals off the tops of buildings, because they just don't tolerate that. All the women's initiatives that we had in Afghanistan, that has come to a complete halt now that the Taliban's running things again. And so this place, Western civilization, and specifically America, is an enclave for a republic, for a democratic republic. And the issue of the day is this is something special that we need to protect. The rest of the country, or better yet, the rest of the world, is not like this. We've both seen enough of the rest of the world to know that this is a jewel that needs to be protected. And that's what we're trying to do here. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, these folks are not assimilating. And you know what they say about that? Immigration without assimilation is an invasion.
Yep, you said it. And it's crazy.
Yeah, and the problem is 20 million. I mean, I'm talking. That is. Do you know how many football stadiums? I mean, it's probably every single one of them built another 20,000 of them. I mean, 20 million people.
I
This
can't
is like
fathom that.
15 major American cities.
Yeah. Think about this. So the population of Springfield, Ohio is, let's give them 65, 70,000 people. So you are going to tell me they bought 20,000 people into that one little enclave? That's going to break the place.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and whose idea was that? And I will tell you that as those people were being brought in and we were watching this, there was didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to where they were placing these people. But now when you walk away and you step back, it's like they were putting those people in swing states. So the idea is
Exactly.
that as those people stay here and as they maintain a presence, eventually they'll get the right to vote. And then who they're going to vote for? They're going to vote for the Democrats, which
Right.
means that we become a one party country.
Right.
That's Marxism 101.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be voting for our own demise. And um, I was reading, I think it's the Netherlands, where the same thing's happening in Western Europe. And in the Netherlands, they're starting an initiative where they're offering people $36,000 a year. I bet maybe not a year, offering some of those migrants $36,000 to go home. Give them a plane ticket, and $36,000. Go back where you came from. Now that may seem harsh, but that may be a solution that Mr. Trump can use once he gets back into office, because it'll be a whole lot cheaper to send these people back where they came from, as opposed to dealing with all the stuff that we're going to have to deal with. And a lot of these people, bless their hearts, are coming in with diseases. They're coming in with the ability to not be able to function. Nobody talks about the medical side of this thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's going to cost us a lot. And the truth is that we got our own problems. And why not go back to your own country and fix things? I mean, if you notice, nobody's talking about Haiti right now. That barbecue guy is still floating around down there, but nobody talks about it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And why not go back to your country and fight for your independence? Don't come here and bring your troubles here. I got enough troubles.
Like you said, the whole $36,000 here. Yeah, here's a one-way flight. You're out of here.
There you go.
But it should have never happened in the first place.
I
How can
think
you be an elected by the people of this country to perform treason and go against our Constitution and all of the laws on the books? There is no law enforcement at the highest levels in this country. None of this should have ever happened. And we have advisory boards, and we have, Northcom and our military and Border Patrol and police officers and all this stuff for a reason. Again, if they want full on third world, well, then why do we have all these 3-letter organizations? Why do we have police? Why do we have county sheriffs? Why don't we just shut it all down and just let people go about their own business, and let's just become the Wild West again? Because that's what I see.
Well, it's funny. You're going to think I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist.
Absolutely not, because I don't even know what that even means anymore.
Well, you ever heard of Klaus Schwab?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah.
I've read 2 of his books. This is a plan. This is not by accident. The elites of this world believe that America should be brought down to size a little bit, and they control the economics. They're doing this in pretty much all the Western countries. Canada's catching hell. They just elected a pretty much pro-Marxist president in Mexico. What they really want to create is a North American free trade zone where you can just go whatever you want to. But the issue of the day is, imagine, so you get some trucker driving an 18-wheeler from Mexico City to Omaha, Nebraska, and we don't have the same traffic laws. Or better yet, I've seen reports of Springfield, Ohio, where all these migrants have come in and they bought used cars, but they don't have insurance, and a couple of people have been killed. Americans have been run over because their version of traffic and our version of traffic is 2 different things. So there's some cultural acclimation that has to happen before we just take the borders away. And who's going to suffer? The American citizen's going to suffer. So Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum and this World Global Leaders Summit and all this sort of stuff, these people get together every year and they decide the fates economically of all the other countries. And by the way, they take these big jets to do so. One trip from the United States to Davos, Switzerland is probably equivalent to all the carbon that you're going to use in a year. Think about that. But they're over here complaining about carbon. So they want us to buy electric cars while they drive gas guzzling limousines and such and things like that. So yeah, do as I do, but not as I say. So yeah, a lot of people have never heard the term Klaus Schwab. He's written several books. They're easy to find, and they lay out his strategy for world domination. As far as I'm concerned, call them Nazis, call them Marxists, call them communists. They're ists, they're phobes, they're terrible human beings, and they need to be stood up to. And if they're allowed to do what they want to do, America will suffer because we are the ones in the bullseye.
Absolutely. And it's some scary stuff.
And don't let me get started on George Soros because he's part of the game.
What is the end game here? What do you see? What do you see coming down the pipe for America?
Like I said, these people that are elites believe that America is bad for the world. Personally, I believe that America is still that beacon of hope for the world. And if you notice that people aren't trying to break into Russia, they're not trying to break into China, they're not trying to break into Nigeria, they're not trying to break into Venezuela. People are trying to come here. Now, people are going to Western Europe. They're going into England and Sweden and France. But the issue of the day is we have something good in Western society. But I like to be optimistic, and I believe that our people will step up when challenged. And that's what I'm doing right now. I mean, some of my old friends that I've lost look at me like, why aren't you over at Amazon Web Services, making a big gang of money and taking advantage of your background? Well, the truth is that we are under crisis, and people like me and people like you need to step up and spread the word. And the question of the day is we need to get out and vote. We need to get out and make sure that Mr. Trump wins. We need to get out and be a part of our community, not just running our mouths, but getting involved. I mean, for example, I'm in part of the Howard County Republican Central Committee. There's not a lot of Republicans here in Maryland, but we fight the fight as hard as we can. And I spend most of my weekends out at festivals and things like that, promoting conservatism. And, I'm supporting several school board county candidates in 3 different counties, Anne Arundel, Howard, and Carroll County. These people are friends of mine. But people don't seem to understand that, the Soroses of the world have taken over the local school boards. They are the ones setting the rules for what your children are being taught and what they're being. And you mentioned earlier, you talk about those furries out in Colorado and out west, kids dressing up in these costumes and acting like animals, literally acting like animals. Well, the school board allows that. If we had strong, solid Americans on the school board, maybe we wouldn't have these quote unquote furries or whatever you call them. People are doing all kinds of crazy things. But the issue of the day is the communist way is to infiltrate the schools, take away the guns, take away people's ability to determine what is right and wrong. And next thing you know, there's nothing left to fight for. And I don't want to see that day come. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's going to totally bring down the morale of people. And they say, yeah, what do we have here? It's just, you literally cannot make this stuff up. And folks, we are joined by Berney Flowers. And if you've been listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, this guy, man. Oh, wow. He's out. No, folks, guys, this is one of the former senior advisors to DHS Secretary Mayorkas. This guy's worked within the DOD for decades and active duty military, NORTHCOM, NORAD. He knows what he's talking about, folks. And this right now, we are dead serious here on if we don't fix what's going on in this country, if we don't right this ship, we will not have a country.
Yeah.
We will lose America. Rome fell, and America is literally in those same footsteps. And it's up to us. It's up to the patriots of this country. It's up to the people that love America to stand up and fight for what's right. It's not going to be easy, but America wasn't founded easy. George Washington on the horseback. Come on, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, who's going to be the modern day, Crockett, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The bottom line is that we got something good here, and anything good is worth protecting. And, as I said before, when it comes to the veterans, you see this behind me, Veterans for America First.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why can't America be first?
Right. Yeah.
That's the deal. And, I look at the Obamas, I look at the Clintons. I mean, for example, the Clinton Global Initiative, when Hillary Clinton was running for office, running for president, several countries, several rich billionaires gave her huge amounts of money for the Clinton Global Initiative. And they were supposed to fix Haiti. Here it is, 10, 15 years later, they built like 8 houses with the billions of dollars that they made.
Mm-hmm.
And they kept that money. Bill and Hillary were nothing but scammers. And what happened to all that money? If you talk to anybody from Haiti, and I've got Haitians that are related to me by marriage, they hate the Clintons. They hate the Clintons with a passion, but you won't hear that on MSNBC. You won't hear that on CBS. There's a whole lot of other things going on here. But the issue of the day is that seems like the leadership class of the Democrat Party is totally against America. All they want is cheap labor, and they want to turn this place into a serfdom. They want everybody to be poor except for them while they call the shots. And the middle class is what makes America work. And I say, let's defend and protect our middle class, but it's going to take fight from more than just me and more than just you and more than just the veterans who stand tall. Everybody's going to have to get engaged. Everybody's going to have to get involved. Otherwise, what this good thing, this beautiful country that we have, this beautiful, culture that we have will be taken away.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that.
Yeah. And you got 160 different countries coming here, and a lot of them don't believe in sanitation. So they go to McDonald's and they throw their trash on the ground, to where you want to know why America has become a cesspool of disease and trash and third world? Because this is how they live. You go to Haiti, you can't even see the water.
Yeah.
It's full of trash. So
it's
these
funny
people
you
who have
say that.
trash cans, they're like, what's that round thing right there? I don't know. I'm just going to throw my cup out. I'm going to throw it out the window even. You drive down these freeways and there's trash everywhere. And there's, and we need to have car insurance, but they don't need to have car insurance, because guess what? They're unidentified. These guys are unidentified. So if they get a ticket, they don't care. They're going to burn it. I'm out of here.
Here's another thing that people don't think about. In a lot of those third world countries that we're dealing with, these people are coming from poor situations where kidnapping is an industry. So I mentioned that because I had a good friend, good church buddy. Their church down in Georgia was going to go to Haiti and, do a missions trip to try to make things a little bit better. And my friend, who was a military guy, retired, he was trying to explain to the pastor that it was a bad idea to take a bunch of Americans down to Haiti during all that stuff was going on. Mm-hmm. And so he called me because I still got some connections, and I explained to him in the best unclassified way that I could that it wasn't a good idea to take a bunch of Americans down to Haiti. They would stand out like a sore thumb, and the next thing you know, somebody's going to get snatched, raped, some terrible thing's going to happen, and all this could be avoided. So that was my advice, and I'm very proud to say that they took my advice and they did not take that mission trip down to Haiti. But it's rough times down there, and you don't want to go to Venezuela. There are parts of Mexico that you simply don't want to go to, and on and on and on. The rest of the world is not like America. And the people that are in charge, the Clintons, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Kamala Harris's, the first thing they want to do is take away guns. And that's, you remember, I don't know if you saw one of her, puff piece interviews. She was
Mm-hmm.
bragging about the fact that she had weapons, but she wants to take ours away.
Yep.
Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me.
Yes, it is do as I say, not as I do. And, you said that you went down there to your friend and you said, take my advice, do not go to Haiti. And he didn't. Well, and you said, oh, there's places that you don't want to go to in Venezuela and Mexico and Afghanistan, Iraq and Iran and all these places. Well, guess what? They've all taken mission trips here.
Yeah.
So they have brought those, what you advised your buddy on not to go do, they brought here. So what does that say about America? Don't go into Houston. Don't go into Atlanta.
Don't do it.
Stay out of Denver. Don't go to New York City.
And Brian, if I may, you just brought up another idea. Yeah. Everybody thinks they're the hero in their own story. Now think about this. So let's just say you were raised in another culture. You've heard of Sharia law.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Iraq, you go to Iran, you get talking to people that are literal local nationals there. Some of them actually think we're the great Satan. So when they come over here, they're going to try to bring their Sharia law because they believe that that is the way to purify humanity. So they're going to bring sometimes their own customs here, and we're not used to that. And some of these people are willing to fight to the death with what they believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something we want? And these Ivy League elites who basically run everything in the Biden administration, they know this. They've studied. They haven't been over there, but they know they get all the best education in those Ivy League schools, so they understand. But the issue of the day is we just can't bring just anybody into the United States, because the next thing you know, here comes a bunch of bad habits that we're going to have to deal with. And some of those people, you ever heard the term honor killing?
Yes.
That happens.
Oh, absolutely. And it happens a lot here in the United States because the children are actually assimilating, and the mom and dad is saying, oh no, you will not be an American. You are not going to dress like that. And you know what they end up doing? The girls, they'll put stuff in their backpack.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when they get to school, they're going to change because they want to be like everybody else. They want to assimilate. They want to be Americans.
Yes.
Okay. They left there for a reason.
Exactly.
And I see it all the time on these murder mysteries and these Dateline NBCs, these honor killings. A lot of them are happening right here in America. And you're talking about the Muslim population, but the Venezuelans and the folks that are coming in from deep South America and all this. Folks, this isn't the old-fashioned Mexican farmers coming here to pick produce. We're not talking about these guys, folks. We're talking about dangerous gangs that are here to infiltrate our country and basically turn it into a war zone and to completely take over. I mean, you see what's going on in Chicago right now.
Oh, I sure do.
The gangs, the Bloods and Crips and all these gangs in Chicago were like, oh no, you're not coming into my hood.
Gangster disciples.
We've been running this. We've been running this for generations, and you're not coming in here, man. Boy, it is more dangerous there right now on those streets. They got bullets flying everywhere. It's so bad in Chicago. They're putting up bullet meters. So when shots ring out, they know where to go.
Yeah, and all this could be solved with proper leadership. And we were doing some really, really good things when President Trump was president. I was proud to serve under him. And I go back to Reagan. I mean, when I came in the Air Force, Reagan was president, so I've served under Clinton. I've served under them all. I was a dedicated, nonpartisan civil servant, military person, yada, yada, yada. But it's hard to be nonpartisan now with the way things are. And we got to get Trump back in. It's our only chance, because I will tell you, remember, Kamala Harris's father is a Marxist professor. All right.
Mhm.
She was indoctrinated in all this stuff from day one. So she really believes in redistribution of wealth. She wants to take your wealth and give it to somebody else. She just doesn't want to give up any of hers. Oh, no, by the way, she spent most of her childhood in Canada with her PhD mother. And this idea about her working at McDonald's, like everything she says turns out to be a lie. Even her own father doesn't claim to be black. She claims to be black, but he's not. But, the issue of the day is all the lies are starting to come out. And I just hope that the American people will rescue our country. First, we got to start with a vote, and we got to make this too big to rig. That's the deal.
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact that those Dominion voting machines are networked. They're not supposed to be, but just this me talking. I'm just saying that they're not supposed to be networked. I've had some experience with them, and that's another story for another time. But the issue of the day is we've got to win this election. It's the only chance we got. And then once we get Mr. Trump into office, we got to work like the Dickens to get things turned around, moving in the right direction. And we have every resource necessary to live in a real paradise here in the United States. But the 1% seems to be only interested in making money for themselves. They don't care about anybody else. And there's just a lot of things that are happening. I mean, I got a pet peeve with Bill Gates. Why does he own the majority? He owns more farmland in the United States than anybody else. Is he a farmer? No. Why is he selling us vaccines? Why does he and Elon Musk, well, I like Elon, but Jeff Bezos, why do they have so much power in this country? It makes no sense. We got to divest some of this authority that these oligarchs have and make some changes and make those changes towards the betterment of the middle class. Otherwise, we're going to have some real problems down the road. And I'm going to fight as hard as I can, but I'm only one man and you're only one man as well. So we
Yeah,
just got to turn this thing around.
And all these other countries know that they are not immune to attacks and civil wars and revolutions, and they've seen it all, to whereas we haven't.
Yeah.
And everybody that is living here, as long as they have their gym membership and their Starbucks coffee and their Netflix prescription, and they're living in their bubble, watching their football and their baseball games and all that, guess what? They don't care until it ends up in their city parks or on their doorstep. And I can tell you, folks, we are not immune to any attack. And if you think that we are, look back on 9/11 and look back on 2020 and look back on so many other unprecedented things that have happened. I mean, look at Pearl Harbor. I mean, look at what's going on in these other countries. It's coming here. It's coming to a city near you. Now, look. I know we could sit here and talk all day long. You're a very interesting man. You're very knowledgeable. You're a great man, a great patriot, and somebody we need in this country standing up and fighting for the good of the American people and for the good of our country. But before we stop here, Veterans for Trump, right? You are a big part of Veterans for Trump. What is the mission of Veterans for Trump?
To elect Trump, period. That's the bottom line. He is our only shot, and we're doing everything we can to organize veterans and get all the patriotic people. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to be a veteran to be part of Veterans for Trump. Several of our staff are, non-veterans. We got police officers. We've got first responders. We got just regular old Joes who have never been in the military or anything like that. But there's a movement. And Trump's leading it, and we're just trying to recruit as many people as we can to get on the Trump train and get this thing in because he's our only option. We allow Kamala Harris to get in there, and we got to fight. We're going to have the fight of our lives. And the truth is that, she is not going. What has she done for us in the last 4 years? She was in the number 2 position in the entire United States government. She was named the border czar, and nothing but bad things happened on her watch. So yeah, Veterans for Trump is a wonderful organization that I'm very, very proud of, and you can look them up if you wish to. I think the website is veteransfortrump.org. I'm going to type it in. I don't have it memorized by any stretch of the imagination, but and if you just type in VFAF-US, and what you'll find is it'll pop right up. And let me tell you, there's some great people doing great things, and we're just fighting the fight behind the scenes. And maybe, we're getting behind candidates, we're endorsing. And, I just found out about them when I was running for Congress. They found me out and liked what they saw, and they endorsed me. And I didn't win my primary, but the issue of the day is they said, hey, Berney, we got a place for you. Let's get you involved in what we're doing. And I couldn't be happier.
Good. I love it, man. We need to engage. It is, look, freedom is a responsibility.
Yes.
It's a responsibility. And we have become too comfortable, and we have become irresponsible, in my opinion, with freedom. Mm-hmm. And it's one generation away, folks. And this is our time in history. We all can play a major stake right now in history in the United States of America. And it's up to us to stand up and look adversity directly in the eye and say, not in the United States of America. This game is over, and we are going to take back this nation, and we will together make America great again.
Let's get her done. So that's what I'm all about. And I'm very proud to be part. You see this in my background, Veterans for America First. And, that's just what I believe in. And, I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth. I'll be 60 pretty soon. And I want my old age to be comfortable. And there are people who don't want my old age to be comfortable. And I'm against that. I want everybody to be happy. But, we can't just keep allowing outflows to leave the United States financially. I mean, I was just looking at the television the other day, and the longshoremen up in New York were about to strike. And there's just a lot of things that are going negative. And this all can be attributed to the fact that the Biden administration, to include Ms. Harris, has made some very, very poor decisions over the last 4 years. And we got to get that corrected. It all starts at job one, which is America first, get Trump elected, and let's see where the chips fall after that.
Amen, brother. It is in God's hands.
Amen. Amen.
Well, listen, Berney, thank you so much for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate everything you have done and continue to do in the military and veteran community. Your service, sacrifice, and dedication to our great nation is truly admirable.
Brian, I appreciate you having me on. If you need me, just call me. You know how to get a hold of me. And the bottom line is that this is a fight that we can't afford to lose.
I agree.
Yes, sir.
I agree. We will see you here shortly, Berney.
All right, brother. Take care now.
Well, folks, there you have it. Berney Flowers. Google him, guys. He's a contributor on the news. I think he's been on Newsmax and a bunch of different TV hit spots. And he's, always talking about, national security and what's going on, southern border, and what we can't afford to lose in this country. So Berney, he is a great American, and I'm honored to know him and to call him a friend. Now, folks, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the program. It has never been easier to listen to this podcast. We're on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and X, even though this podcast probably can't be on a lot of those platforms because we are being completely silenced. That is something that we cannot let happen in this country. We've got to wake up, folks. The Constitution is our blueprint to freedom, and we cannot lose it. Folks, also learn more about me and my personal story, perhaps even get my new book. Check it out at briantalley.com, folks. That's briantalley.com. I didn't choose this job. It chose me, And just like how we can all be a part of American history right now and all play a major part if we all just do our job. Let's get up and vote and bring your neighbor with you. Folks, remember to stay inspired, stay encouraged, stay motivated, and always stay in the fight. Until next time for the Today with Tally podcast, this is Brian Tally. Good night. Simplify. God bless.
This is the Today with Tally podcast.